Now that we've gotten the story out of the way, let's get into the final review of Nova Covert Ops. Starting with the story. The story is weak. I have 9 missions now, people, and I can say the story is weak. The whole premise of Nova being mysteriously captured by the Defenders of Man to fulfill their agenda, which is very much Arcturus Manx's agenda. I was almost... There was in one scene with General Davis, there's a picture of Arcturus Manx, a woman, and what looks to be maybe Valerian. And I was like, they're going to do a reveal that General Davis is Arcturus Manx's wife. But then I'm like, oh, wait, but Valerian hasn't mentioned this. So I would think that he'd know his own mother. But I was almost expecting that. And her tactics were very similar to Manx. And so, that being said, it was basically recreating Arcturus Manx in female form, and it was weak. It was absolutely... The story here was so weak, especially it was unworthy of Nova. I've already gotten to arguments with people on this, but... Nova had a lot of hype behind her, mainly because of the failed StarCraft Ghost game. And we did want story and background to her. And the fact that she showed up in StarCraft 2 was amazing, because then we got to have that discussion of, like, are we going to learn more about Nova? And so a lot of people looked at this Nova Covert Ops thing and went, we're going to learn about Nova's past. You don't really. You get hints here and there, but you don't really get anything to Nova's past. At least not her distant past. You get like maybe 6 months ago past. So the whole Defenders of Man concept was a weak faction. Like, in all honesty, the better idea would have been to, instead of doing this whole Defenders of Man thing, have a Valerian faction and have an Arcturus faction. Like, the Defenders of Man should have been the Sons of Korhal. That's what the Sons of Korhal reborn. That's what should have happened here, and they should have gone full bore. We aren't messing around. We aren't going to try and get aliens to do our job for us. We're going to take out Valerian. That's what that story should have been, and it wasn't. So right now I'm going to tell you I took major marks off of Nova Covert Ops because it's just, the story's weak overall. Like, I'm sorry, but Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, Legacy of the Void, they all have way better premises than this. And it's also weak in regards to Nova, seeing as we all wanted to see this great legacy unfold to us of her character and who she is, and we don't get it. She, for lack of a better term, she Jim Raynors it. She's the Jim Raynor for Valerian. And at the end, leaves like Raynor did Arcturus. So, okay, yeah, that's a pretty weak story. Visually, it's in the StarCraft 2 engine. There really isn't too much that I can complain about. I do have some issues with, for example, the Xanthos. The Xanthos looked kind of dumb. They also introduced the Gorgon battlecruiser, which I'm just not there with a lot of people. Thought that was dumb. It looked like a big worm. I've always liked the Hyperion type battle cruiser, so aside from a couple of model choices, I can't necessarily take a whole lot off when it comes to visuals, because it is Blizzard, and Blizzard did put the polish in, and this is in the StarCraft 2 engine. Nothing looks very crappy. So, right now, if anything, for the Xanthos and maybe a couple of other designs for the planets and storyline, well, not storyline, but or like storyline characters, I've never liked the ship that Nova was in. I looked at it and I said it was the Grey Fox. That's what it is. It's the Great Fox. She's riding around with Team Star Fox, and they're about to go to Corneria to free the Cornerian Society. Whatever. But yeah, I give it high marks for visuals, but I took a little bit off just because of some of the design choices that went into the new models for Nova Covert Ops. Gameplay. there's not really a whole lot I can change here either. It's StarCraft 2 engine, so it already plays very, very well. The only thing that I had a major beef with was the upgrade system for Nova seemed weak. Again, weak compared to, say, Heart of the Swarm working on Kerrigan, or Legacy of the Void working on the Spear of Adun. Even Wings of Liberty working on Raynor's Fleet. All of those seemed better than what they did with Nova. Nova just got items, and then you could pick which ones worked best, and then you could eventually get items that upgraded the units to give them more of a sleek, stealthier look, or make them spawn faster, or make it so you didn't have to have a tech lab or a reactor to get them. So all of that premise, I messed around with it here and there in the missions, but aside from maybe getting my favorite units out quicker, it didn't make a whole lot of difference, and it didn't feel like Nova was getting more powerful. Okay? I need to preface that. The gear that you get eventually just kind of suits her for different situations. And while that's cool and that's unique, what is Nova? She's a ghost. So at that point, there was stuff that basically made her an outright melee unit or an outright marine. And so at that point, I literally went through that list and said, okay, that's a departure from the Ghost. That's a departure from the Ghost. Why do I not want to do anything other than a Ghost? And granted, I'm not a stealthy kind of player, and I'll even admit the stealthy missions irritated me. So I did pick some of those options, but then when you break it down, it's like you're taking her away from what she is, being a ghost, and making her into something else. So now we have Marine Nova, or we have I want to say Firebat Nova, but it's more like stun focused Nova. And that's not as cool to me as evolving Kerrigan into whatever beast you want her to be, kind of thing. It's just not that awesome. So I did take marks off for gameplay. At least as far as the new elements that got implemented into Nova Covert Ops. Audio-wise, no real complaints because the voice acting still sounds good. I will admit there were a couple of points where Rigel, and guys, here's the other problem. All the new characters in here, I had to go look up on Wikipedia because I couldn't remember them. They're not that memorable. I had to go look up Rigel because I couldn't remember the guy's name. So at that point, he's kind of my problem. General Davis is my problem because holy crap, they gave... And here's the thing, Rigel is supposed to be just serious computations kind of guy, but he made that bland to me. He took a Lieutenant Commander Data kind of idea and made it bland. And I don't know if that's necessarily the voice actor's fault or if it's the direction. I'm not sure, because it could be either way. General Davis, she's no Arcturus. And I find that funny because the game the packs basically set her up to be Arcturus Minsk. So she's not unhinged. She's not freaking crazy. She's just sitting there all calm and cool, and she's implementing Arcturus's plans. If you had just made that tiny connection, people, to the Sons of Korhal, instead of calling it the Defenders of Man, just call it the Sons of freaking Korhal. And then at that point, everybody would have gotten what it is. And instead, no, we got this. So yeah, I did have some beefs with it, but overall the audio design is not bad. And there are good performances in there. We got a little bit more from Valerian, which I did appreciate because he hasn't had a whole lot of spotlight time. Matt Horner returned, and I thought he was good in his role. Even returning John Delancey to be Alarak was amazing. I love that concept. But then we had characters like Rigel and General Davis that just kind of dragged it all down. So I did take marks off, but not a whole lot. And now that we can actually talk about this, replay value and presentation. Replay value. For StarCraft 2 fans, there is replay value. You can play these missions again in harder difficulties, get achievements, be able to get additional gear to overpower Nova so that you can just go through this whenever you want. So there is replay value there. However, I'm going to take a bit off because there isn't a whole lot of motivation to go and replay this thing. I play StarCraft for story. I know a lot of people who don't play StarCraft for story, they have an element. It's called multiplayer. That's what they play it for. But here's the thing, a lot of multiplayer guys, they also go for the story. And everybody I've talked to this year about Nova Covert Ops, who has brought it up to me, who has commented, who has private messaged me, have all said the same thing. This thing is freaking weak when it comes to story. And what's supposed to make it better is, like BlizzCon, we were hoping was going to announce another mission pack that maybe had a lot more thought into it. No, instead we're getting comics, and we're getting this, and we're getting that, but we're not getting a new mission pack. Instead, we're getting AI development. Okay, that may be cool, but you dropped the ball when it came to Nova Covert Ops. So I find it funny that a lot of people have complained about the fact that I'm complaining about this so much. But there are other people who agree with this, who are saying this is a weak, for lack of a better term, DLC or expansion. This isn't good by any stretch. So, yeah, we have problems with it. And I don't think there's a whole lot of replay value because the story isn't that beloved. Compared to Wings of Liberty, compared to Heart of the Swarm, or compared to Legacy of the Void, infinitely better than what we got in these 9 missions. And then finally, presentation. Does it come together to create an awesome experience for people? I've already obviously stated that. No, it's a very weak experience. I mean, for crying out loud, just kind of picture this in your head if Reaper of Souls for Diablo had been as weak as Nova Covert Ops, and you still hadn't gotten an expansion or Diablo 4. I have a feeling a lot of hardcore Diablo fans would have left, because they would have felt like the Diablo team doesn't give a damn about this franchise anymore. That's kind of how I feel with StarCraft, and that's my first franchise. That's my first Blizzard franchise, so that pisses me off. So yeah, I'm a little biased on the matter, but frankly, to take Legacy of the Void and then immediately say, oh, we are going to expand the universe past Legacy of the Void. We're going to do Nova Covert Ops. And instead, it feels like there was more focus in the co-op missions than there was in Nova. I don't even know how to describe that. That's irritating to me. That's frustrating. So, yeah, the presentation, it doesn't come together because this idea overall has been very weak. And that actually leads into my final score, which I am giving a 5 out of 10. Now, people might remember when I did the first one, I gave a 4 out of 10. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 because we did get some good performances out of Alarak and a number of other things. But this game is not standout by any stretch. It is average. These mission packs can be totally skipped. You miss nothing out of them. You get nothing out of them as far as I am concerned. Nova fans, I get why you're pissed off. Because this didn't do anything for you. This didn't go into her past. This didn't give us more into her character. It's just her being her. It's being her being her in Wings of Liberty. That's what's happening here. So, I get why you're mad. Because, frankly, this was kind of beneath Nova. And that's going to go ahead and do it for my final review of Nova Covert Ops. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me for the first 2 mission packs. It's been a long and rough journey. I really wish I didn't score it the way I did. I wish this could have been more. I wish this could have been an awesome lead up out of Legacy of the Void, but it isn't. And that's the unfortunate part. And that's going to go ahead and do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for your subscriptions, for your likes, for your comments, for your constructive feedback. I appreciate it all. And of course, I will see you guys next time for the next review.